So Dan is going to show us how he's using DQMH scripting hooks to all the latest value of a broadcast, a feature request that we previously declined, saying, hey, dude, there will be scripting hooks soon. So can you request screen sharing?
Yeah, let's get that. Okay, I think I'm sharing.
Yep.
All good? All right.
All good, thank you.
All right, so yeah, I had that request and it got declined on the basis of, hey, there's going to be this feature, so I had to put my money where my mouth is and do the feature. So everything I'm going to show you is available. So if you launch your VI package manager, if you filter by DQMH, there's a bunch of stuff, which is great. And we've got one on here. I was very impressed, by the way. This was approved in like record time. I didn't even expect it to be approved by this meeting, but it only took like a couple days. So good on the JKI team for getting us on here. So you can go ahead and install that. There's also a GitHub, a GitLab repo, and it's open source. So if you want to, dig through the actual implementation, that's cool. I can show a little bit of that too right now.
The repo URL is probably on the package description.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's in there. So if you, where is it? Get info. There we go. The repo is on here, right there.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So yeah, so you guys can feel free to create issues and all that kind of stuff. And if anybody wants to add to it, that's cool too. So the motivation for this actually came from one of our customers with a team of LabVIEW developers, and they had their own framework. It was actually Mark Balla's framework. And he had created a class-based messaging framework. And every time in his framework where you would send a message, he didn't distinguish between request and broadcast. He just kind of had send message. But he had something that would store the latest value of whatever the message was. And he had a way that he could retrieve that value asynchronously anywhere in his application. So it kind of worked like basically a global variable, but it was just a store of whatever the last value of that message was. So in case the message got sent, but you weren't registered for it at the time, or you weren't running at the time, and you kind of start your process and you want to know, hey, I'd like to know what the latest value of something was, you had a quick way to do it without bothering another process. And so, of course, I got asked, hey, can DQMH do that? And that's what led to my feature request. So I'm just going to show the quick example, which is the thermal chamber controller example, which, ships with DQMH. So I figured that was something most of you should be familiar with. So if I run this, right now you see how on the tester, there's just the broadcasts showing up. I probably should have run it the other way around, but I was playing around earlier. By default, this example actually is this. So if I enable that, what you would normally see, if I was to run the tester, you see there's the broadcast, but you're also seeing the request and wait for reply that this VI is kind of, I'm going to call it spamming. It's being pretty chatty. It's constantly, it's in this loop and it's doing a request and wait for reply in the loop. And this is, I'm not criticizing this example at all. This is to demonstrate DQMH functionality. So I'm not saying this is bad.
It is not, but trying to show what would it be for someone that didn't want to use events, and that you could still use a chain of VIs.
Yeah.
So that's why it's done that way.
Yeah. So yeah. It's demonstrating that. But in this case, if I was running asynchronous and I was running like a little mini state machine or something, and I just really wanted to know what I was trying to keep an eye on a value, rather than bothering and by bothering I mean making a request and wait for reply into another module. Maybe I just want to read I just want to do a read of whatever the latest value was. So we'll switch it to that. And now you see, of course, it goes back to just being broadcasts. So when we run this, start the tester, you see now there's just broadcast. There's no request and wait for reply. And the feature that got implemented is just a small addition to the broadcast firing VI. So let's look at that. This is the thermal chamber. If we look at the broadcasts, this was, in preparing this example for this meeting, I actually had to add more stuff to my feature because I realized something about round trip events. They're a little different from pure broadcasts. And I didn't realize that going into this. So things, as usual, as things do, right? They always get more complicated than you think they're going to be. But here's the broadcast for that. So in the shipping example, you're doing request and wait for reply. That's hitting the message handler here. And it's bundling up all the information about the thermal chamber and putting it into this cluster. And that's what's getting sent as the reply, right? So that's the reply payload. But this was done as a round trip. So in addition to the reply payload, you've got the broadcast here, which is fine. And so what my add-on does is it adds this VI right here, which is, just essentially the, call it the functional global, or it's the feedback global. This is what it looks like. So, and once you install this package, it's going to do a postscript action on create new event. So you will get this anytime you make a broadcast, you'll get this VI along for the ride. It'll end up in your module. So in the case where it's writing, which the only time that should ever be writing is inside the firing VI itself. What you're going to do is, I'm storing it in a map, and this was to handle clonables. A singleton, it doesn't really matter. It's going to default its value here, module ID to -1. It will be wired as a constant on a singleton. But on a clonable, this will get whatever module ID you use to fire that broadcast. You may have used -1, fine, but you probably used the module ID of the specific clone instance you're firing from. But I thought it might be nice, this kind of occurred to me, to, let's say you did that, and you're firing from module ID 1. I'm also going to store the value as module ID -1, so that if you turn around and read that, you're effectively saying, tell me the latest value that any of my clones have sent on this broadcast. Whatever the latest one is, that's what I'm going to get if I say -1. So it's just defining that behavior there, because the read is just going to take whatever module ID and give you that. Couple little nice things is it'll tell you if it's initialized. So if you pass it a module ID that hasn't fired its broadcast yet, you're going to get a false that you're reading a default value because nobody's broadcasted this message yet. But if you do get a message, you will also, along with that, get the timestamp of when that message was broadcast, so that you can do a little bit of stale checking if you want. Be like, okay, this is the latest message, but it was from 3 hours ago, and maybe it's not the greatest representation, and I shouldn't put a lot of weight on it. So that's basically what the plugin does, is it just adds that, and that ends up in your project. I also created a virtual folder in your module, and I called it broadcast values in the public API, because the idea is you're going to want to be able to take this VI and put it somewhere else. You will then, now you've created a dependency, you depend on whatever module you pulled this from, but your alternative was to do a request and wait for reply, which would also make your dependency, or you would register for the broadcast, which would also create the dependency. So I figured like the arrows are all in the same direction. I'm not really violating that. I think, Matthias, you got your hand up. What's happening?
Yes, I'm wondering, now that you have this, are you looking for maybe an extra feature on the scripting hooks that will allow you to easily disable a scripting hook? Because I understand that this is always enabled, and every time you're going to create a podcast on any project, it's going to do that.
Yes.
Is
So
it a concern?
there was a little bit of discussion. I don't know if you saw on Zulip when Enrique was talking about this too. I mentioned maybe having the concept of some kind of a post-scripting hook manager where you could list all the ones that are there and selectively disable them and enable them and stuff. I mean, Darren pretty much gave us that, in that if you go into your scripting plugins, right, and there it is. If you put an underscore here, it will get ignored. Right, Darren?
Yeah, so
you can't cut them off.
So it would probably be valuable to have a small UI that just does that programmatically.
Yes.
And,
so basically, anytime you create a new broadcast, you're going to get that storage VI. That's my plugin. But then, of course, I immediately thought, what about existing broadcasts? What if I want to add this? I've got an application, I got modules with broadcasts. What if I want to add this feature to them, but I don't want to like delete the broadcast and then create it again? I just want to add this to it. So I've given you that as well. So you have the ability to select a module, and then what it does is it finds any broadcasts that module has that don't yet have a latest value VI in them. And if you find one that you want to add that to, you can just go ahead and I also, this is a little bit like that request that we just declined, where the person wanted to say remove multiple events at once. I do have an interface where you can do this on multiple things at once. So I just, just a list box where you can allow multiple selections. But if I just wanted to add it to this one guy, I could hit add value VI, and it will go ahead and do that. And now it's not on the list anymore because now it has the feature. And you see it showed up now under my broadcast values. Now update module execution status, I don't feel like I really do need to store the latest value for that. So I'm going to just turn around and I can remove that. So you can do the remove the same way. I can do that and it goes away. This is just, I'm on my journey to becoming a scripting ninja. I'm maybe a scripting blue belt at this point.
So, this is really cool, Dan. I like it. But I guess, are you doing this as an open source so people would be able to come and help you with it?
Yeah. This is there's a GitLab link there. It's open source. I can show you the project where this comes from. Because this is this group, I want to show you an Easter egg. This is actually a debugging tool, but just so it helped me a lot to have this. If you hold down the Shift key, right? So you hold down Shift, and let's select one here. The one that I just did, what was that? The update module. If I hold down Shift and click the Add Value VI button, you'll see 3 windows pop up. These are the scripting VIs that are being called, and I'm just showing their front panels. And this is and then in addition to that, I've got these multi-column list boxes here that show all the steps of the scripting, and they have little status readouts. This is really helpful for me when I was getting hung up on little error 1, invalid reference, or error, whatever it is, 1356, or, all those weird things. I was seeing what step it was getting hung up on, and I could go debug that, and that was really helpful just to be able to show the front panels. And then these are the actual VI. I don't hide the diagrams because this is open source, so we can actually go and look and see how all this is done. Now, I understand I have not seen DQMH source code, so I may be doing things differently than when it's done in the actual DQMH, because I'm actually creating a VI, I'm dropping on a diagram, I'm wiring it up. I'm not using tags, other than I am searching for those key labels for things, but not all the time, because not all the modules have those labels on things.
You could also enable retain value in wires when you do that before showing the.
Oh yeah, for debugging.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, this is just, it's kind of what you would expect. We are, I have a template VI that is just this with dummy argument data, and I'm just creating a copy of that VI, dropping it, and then replacing these two arguments with whatever type def that broadcast has. And then I have to take that VI and put it on the firing VI diagram and wire it in. So this is the code to create the new VI, replace the argument clusters, and then of course I add the VI description to it, and then just do a save. So that's that guy. Then the next challenge is, okay, I've created a VI. I've got to add it to my module, right, to my library. So I've got to do that. And in this case, I also wanted to stick it in a virtual folder to kind of separate it from everything else. So we've got to find look to see if there's a public API folder, and if there isn't, we'll make one. There should be one, unless for some reason somebody's deleting their public API folders. But I'm going to make one, and then I look to see if it has a broadcast values folder, and if it isn't, we make one. And then I put the VI in there into the library, and then we got to save the VI in the library. So I chose to do that as a standalone unit. And then we've got to wire it up. So we just add it to the broadcast. This is where I ran into some things. So what I noticed about broadcast VIs is let's see, they probably have it on here. Okay. It's supposed to have this label, right? DQMH_BBN right there. I'm assuming, since that's all caps, that is scripted and that is supposed to be there. Look at status updated. This one does not have that. I don't know if this is something caught by the validator. I did not run the validator on this because this is the shipping example. But this one does not have that label. This one says bundle by name. The other special case
Did you create one to see if creating one, because the status updated is one of the original ones, there is a chance that it was not creating using scripting tools.
Yeah,
so
I could see that.
If you get one and it has it, then we just need to file an issue about fixing that.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not catched by the validator though.
Yeah.
I sidestepped this by basically looking for that label, the DQMH_BBN or bundle by name, because it's the only one. So I did.
But if somebody adds another bundle by name, yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Then the other interesting issue is when you do a round trip, you don't have.
Make a note, so we check on that. I mean, it's a minor issue, but since we are already seeing it, we probably can.
Yeah, you can check on that. If it's a round trip, I don't know if this is a rule now. I haven't made a round trip in a while. The round trip does not have a bundle by name at all. It just takes the payload straight in as for the notifier data. So I couldn't use that as my point to grab that wire. So I had to actually find it from the event data going into the generate user event. So that was interesting. But I mean, these are all things that I basically try it the standard way, and if that doesn't work, I try it a different way, and we got it in the end. But that's why this Boolean is here that says, did I find that bundle by name? And if I didn't, then when I go to wire it up, we do a different method. So this is if I did find it, this is if I didn't, then I have to do kind of my fallback position to try to go find, I find that generate user event, or generate the, what is it? Yeah, the generate user event. And I look for the terminal. This is lots of fun. So I know as you guys who have done VI scripting or LabVIEW scripting, you've hit this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's this node, generate user event, right? This terminal right here is called event data, right? See, it says event data here in the help.
Yeah.
It says event data when I have. Does everybody agree that that says event data?
Yeah.
No, it's not event data. It's event data cluster.
You should actually use the terminal index. So you see there is the little.
So instead, we could do index.
No, basically that's the index of the array of the terminals that you get there. Yeah.
Yeah, I could do it that way.
And the index is fixed on the connector pane. So that will be number 4, if I recall correctly. You showed.
Number 1.
Number 1, yeah. So
okay.
you take the index 1 of the array and
oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought that was fun.
Yeah.
And I totally did this just empirically. I just listed all the names of the terminals, and I saw, wait a minute, it doesn't name one event data. It says event data cluster. So that's what I look for.
And Darren confirms, never use terminal names.
Okay.
They can change and come and bite you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will probably not work on a French localized LabVIEW 2 and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, there's that too.
All right, so I should change that to. I like that. All right, I'll have to create an issue for that. The other thing I want to mention, because this is this specific, but also just because some of you guys, because it's a new feature. If you do something that happens after create new DQMH event, we need to make sure we are cleaning up after ourselves and make sure that we handle that on remove DQMH event. So when you install this package, you will get a plugin for both create and remove. So remove will remove, obviously after it removes the broadcast, this will go in and remove that latest value VI too. So you just got to know that's there. Yeah, so any questions, feedback, anything like that?
That's really cool. Really nice to see how you're using this new feature, and that I'm not sure what's your experience of LabVIEW scripting, but maybe you discovered a little bit LabVIEW scripting, and I hope you liked it because this is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting into it, but there's those little things like that. Like I need to hear things like that. Like, use the terminal number. Don't try to use the name. I like that.
So we probably need now a new channel for scripting ninjas or script ninjas training, because I'm sure that there's going to be, and I know Enrique has evolved a lot on his training, so it's not only Darren that can answer the questions now. But I think if we're going to be doing these scripting hooks, there's a chance that more of you guys are going to be delving into it. So probably having, so these type of things, when you found that the name was different, then you could have posted a tulip, and then it would have come up that, yes, you need to use a terminal number. So you're supporting, because you're using maps, you're not supporting, you're supporting starting in which version of LabVIEW?
2019.
Is it 2019 where that started? I declared my package starting from 2020 because I developed it on 2020. Okay. I haven't tried anything older.
It will be interesting to see how many people actually say, "Hey, Dan, I would love to use your package," but it is on 2020. Because I mean, right now we are supporting 2016 and newer, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. At some point, if we can figure out what people are using, it would be nicer to go to 2020.
Yes, and
I can tell you I'll put my veto.
What was that, Matthias?
For completeness.
I'll put my veto on that.
I know.
Veto 2019. This is the actual project that that implements the scripting feature that I'm demonstrating, and when you do the build, it puts everything in the right folders, and that's where the VI package comes from. But there are unit tests. Oh. So I did run unit tests on this before shipping everything. So you can have some peace of mind that the unit tests are passing.
So I see that you got bitten by the unit test bugs. Were you already using it, or was it after you got to experience them in DTS?
Well, this I just did recently, so yeah, it's after my DTS experience. But it's also because I did open source this, I'm using it as that, demonstrating how to do this for any other developer. So it's more about that than it is like, yeah, I run it, I test it myself. It's scripting, so it's a little bit weird to make a unit test for a scripting thing, but you're basically like, well, I created a VI, go see if that VI exists, and if it does, good.
You should talk, Dan. I've got a way to test scripting code that works pretty well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of made some subs tests here that.
Yeah, basically you have a starting point, you run it, and then you use LabVIEW compare. And so then if you change the scripting code, then you compare the result the last time to the result you got now, and it should work.
That's super cool. The hardest part that I found was all this prep work that has to be done to kind of get everything into a state where it's okay to run the script. So like I have to do a lot, because basically what I'm trying to do is the scripting template VI that we're given with DQMH looks like this. It has these 3 clusters, right?
You got to create those clusters.
Yeah, so we got to populate that. You need to get things roughly into the condition it's in when a new event is being created. So that includes the ephemeral stuff. So you've got to kind of like from a static state, get that stuff live so that there is a reference to a library, so that there is a path to a argument cluster, like all that kind of stuff has to. So that's where I spent the bulk of my time making the test, is over here.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of setup.
But now it's there, and you have an example, and you can play around with it. This could be a harness for any plugin that you want to do on the create new event. So yeah, that's out in the world.
That's really impressive then. I really like how you manage all the different things, not just adding your VI and thinking about removing if you remove the broadcast, adding to already existing event, and having this project open source is really great.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, that's really complete.
Right on.
Yeah. Excellent.
Right on.
Did you, Dan, did you get to talk to Enrique about the tool that he's doing for installing, like managing your scripting hooks?
Only in that Zulip chat where I mentioned it, and then he kind of got inspired by it, and I think he's going to go ahead and make it.
Yeah, so it would be nice if you could touch base with him, and then. But I think he said he may connect remotely on DQMH Day and show it. But if he's not able to, like if you already know what he has in mind, right?
Yeah,
or we can ask him to make sure that he does a video of it.
Yeah, But it's, I mean, the functionality of, and I didn't even demonstrate creating a new broadcast, but that's easy enough to do. I really like how it works. I love how it's straightforward. You're dropping a VI into a folder. That VI gets called when you do whatever action you place in it. It works out really nice. It does leave open that possibility of having a manager to turn things on and off. But I'm thinking for the most part, if you're going to the trouble of making a plugin, you're just going to want it to run in that situation. You could also have some kind of configuration that it could prompt you and say, hey, do you want me to run all the time and never ask you again? Or do you want me to ask you every time? You could add stuff like that.
Dan, if you create that feature request, I'll kudo it.
Let me see here. Okay, so if I say, just to demonstrate the, so if we create a new event, and create a new event, and I put it on my, so I have an example clonable. Let me demonstrate a clonable, because I think it's a little bit more complicated. All right. And throw some data in here. Give it like an array. Oh, and I have to make sure to select broadcast. I do filter within the plugin. It filters just for broadcasts or for the broadcast part of a round trip. So let's do a clonable. I'll just make a new broadcast. And so it's doing the post-scripting action right here. There we go. So we have our tester, and then it created this. This is my new broadcast, and the code for the new broadcast is a clonable, and that's the new VI that got. So you see, it gets wired to the module ID, and it gets wired to the argument, and it puts the true there. I showed this to Mark. He had one comment, and I have a couple of ways to handle this. For the moment, I'm thinking I really just wanted to keep this to a single VI that I'm adding to the module, and for that, you've got to have something that says you want to write, and then the default can be read, so you don't have to wire it. So I declared that as an optional input, the write default false. I was asked, well, what happens if somebody puts a true there? And I'm like, well, if you put a true there somewhere else, you will overwrite that value. And so you won't have the latest value of an actual broadcast. But as soon as something does broadcast, it will re-overwrite that. But it is a little bit of a risk. You got to know, don't put a true there. Or we could encapsulate it and have the one with the true be private and wrap it in a public, right, for read, and only allow that one out. But now I'm creating multiple files. Then I had another idea, which I'll call a little bit of a crazy idea, which is on this diagram, if I put like a call chain here, I could check to see if I'm being called by my event firing VI, and if I am, then set that to true, and if I'm not, then set it to false. You take a small performance hit if you do that. And then the only other risk I thought of is if you've some people, when they deploy their code, they do something and they automatically rename all the VIs and put GUIDs and stuff. And if that happened, my little constant that I would have to compare it to in the dialog would have to somehow follow that. I don't know how I would do that. That's probably really rare, but anyway. Oh, Cyril, I'm sorry. I see your hand up.
Oh yeah, why don't you add only the code for writing? So you don't have the VI, just have a VI for reading. And so you just remove that Boolean and you can only read with the VI, but you just place the content for writing inside the broadcast.
So I'm using this VI as the store, so that this feedback node is storing value.
Oh, it would break the FTP stuff.
Yeah. So I'm trying
Forget.
to protect that. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of rated it as a fairly low risk thing. If you were to wire this thing in opposition of me putting the false on there, and you're gonna explicitly write to this, I guess you're kind of taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an FGV, VI, or an action engine. You have an input to decide whether you want to read or write or whatever. So I think that's safe.
Yeah.
Especially you made it optional. So.
Right. I mean, I even went to just to show you that I did think of this, that I did do some speed testing of like the storage template. So basically with the call chain on there, it runs a little bit slower than without it, but this is 1 million cycles, and you're talking about a little less than half a second versus like 0.37. So
but I think the call chain is kind of dangerous. I would prefer probably the wrapper option where.
Yeah, I could make a wrapper and make the write one private, to the module, and the read one could be public.
But I mean, it's to me, I would stop there. It's already very
good. Yeah.
Good. Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dan.
Yeah. So again, you can find that on Package Manager. It's out in the world, and then feel free to check out the repository.